it's time to go through the NFL. We're going to push the Cowboys back a little bit until we get our resident Cowboy fan on the line. Monday Night Football, what's the update?
Well, I'll tell you right now. I'm pulling this thing up here. All right, so 11 minutes to play in the third quarter. The 49ers are up 13-10 over the New York Giants. If you're a Giants fan, that shouldn't be a bad thing. Odell Beckham seems to think if they can win a bunch of games, you might slide into the playoffs, which is plausible with a lot of lucky things to happen. But if I were him, I'd probably be looking to take this loss, and maybe you can get Eli's replacement.
If I was him, I would be looking to be injured.
No, you don't want to be injured. He did that last year.
Yo, I would do like I do on the basketball court when I'm tired. I'm going to reach over and grab that ankle. I'm going to grab that ankle.
If something's not right, coach. Coach, get me out.
Man, I'm in a situation where I actually did it myself.
You just rolled your own ankle? You did your own Willis Reed, but didn't come back.
No, I don't come back.
You didn't come back.
I'll wait till the next game.
Yeah.
I'll wait till the next game.
Game time decision for about a month. Then the season's over.
Man, every time I do that, people start looking at me weird, like, you don't understand. All right, so this week, the Ravens, the Broncos, the Texans, and the Vikings are all on a bye. All right? With that being said, Thursday Night Football, the Panthers at the Steelers. Steelers with the victory, 52-21. Very big game. 2 playoff contenders. Steelers now go to 6-2-1, I believe, and the Panthers at 6-3.
Man, let me tell you something. 52-21. This is one of these things. I start to wonder when the Thursday night game comes, like the way the schedule is set up. Guys are just like, you know what? Let's just go out here, go through the motions, and get this over with. But while they were going through the motions, the Steelers were getting at work. Right. Ben Roethlisberger was 22 for 25, 328 yards, had 5 touchdowns. Antonio Brown had 6 receptions, 96 yards, 1 TD. In the losing effort, Cam Newton was 23 for 29, 193 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Christian McCaffrey, your favorite running back, 14 carries, 77 yards on the ground, 1 TD, 5 receptions in the air, 61 yards, and 2 TDs. The Panthers, we were thinking they might be contenders. There's a chance they could be pretenders, mainly because of the defense. That defense, they are having major issues stopping people, and it doesn't help when you run into a seasoned Ben Roethlisberger, who may have the best cast of receivers and running back that he's had together since his career has been in existence.
I'm starting to believe Ben is making great players.
He gets the ball there, man.
Because the Steelers, historically, not great skill position players. Stallworth and Lynn Swann notwithstanding, but that was 40 years ago. The Coward teams, not really great skill position players. Recently, Ben has produced Emmanuel Sanders.
Yes.
Antonio Brown out of nowhere.
Yes.
Juju. Martavius Bryant. Heath Miller. Steelers are good to get running backs, and they know what they're doing for sure when it comes to running backs and the offensive line. But I really, just based on the history of the Steelers, I feel like now Ben has a lot to do with these offensive skill position players developing into stars.
Well, a couple things that I did hear in offseason was that Ben has been working on his game, working on his body. Everybody's been kind of paying attention to this Tom Brady thing, the phenomena where you take care of yourself, you get more of it out of yourself, you heal better during the regular season. I think we're seeing an impact there. I also think there's an impact with Todd Haley being gone. I think people didn't understand that they were kind of butting heads a little bit, and this type of performance leads me to think that now Ben is ready to take the reins, and he could be having one of the best seasons he's ever had.
After a little bit of a rocky start, too, they rebounded. So
yeah, but when you can put up the numbers that they're putting up, they look pretty tough out there. Their major issue at the beginning of the season, I think, was their defense. and I think they've answered and fixed some of those issues. They've gotten a little bit better as the season has progressed, but they've always put up numbers, most of the games this year.
Right. In Chicago, your Detroit Lions take another L, losing to the Bears 34-22. Bears are looking rock solid headed towards the playoffs. They are now 6-3. Lions fall to 3-6.
If I remember correctly, I think the Bears are on top of the division right now. Mitchell Trubisky, after the bye, has snapped 22 for 30, 355 yards, 3 TDs passing, and 1 TD running.
And I love watching them.
Yeah, he's
I
putting
love
in
watching
work.
him.
He's getting the ball out. He's getting it there. I think the coach is calling some great plays for him, and they seem to be in a little bit of a groove. Allen Robinson showed up, 6 receptions, 133 yards, and 2 TDs. In the Detroit Lions' effort to get other teams' players paid, because that's what we do. We put you in the Hall of Fame. You come and play Detroit. Matt Stafford was 25 for 42, 274 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. He's struggling. I watched the game since Golden Tate is not there. It's like he's trying to figure out when to let the ball go, who to throw the ball to. So there's a transition period going on right now. But out in the field, Kenny Golladay in the air had 6 receptions, 78 yards, 1 TD. Kerryon Johnson had 14 carries, 51 yards, and 1 touchdown on the ground, 6 receptions in the air, 38 yards, and 1 TD. Again, just like Carolina, the Lions have a leaky defense. They really helped their run defense when they got Snacks Harrison, but the DBs are getting beat. We're having major issues, and so Stafford holds the ball too long. We're still running LeGarrette Blount, in plays that you probably technically, shouldn't have him out there. I'm just waiting for them to figure it out. Give the ball to Kerryon, play that game where you have ball control, play action people to death, and then hopefully we can get some wins. But honestly, we're not beating anybody this year, so I'm content with just taking these L's.
At this point, it's time to take the L's.
Yeah, yeah. Trust the process.
Trust the process.
That's where we are right now.
The New Orleans Saints travel to Cincinnati and hand the Bengals a legitimate teabagging, 51-14. Saints go to 8-1. Bengals fall to 5-4. Bengals have lost They've lost 3 out of their last 4 and are sinking fast.
Man, let me tell you something. Drew Brees is crushing dreams.
Crushing dreams.
And while he's crushing dreams, he's starting to look like the MVP. They're saying they feel like he's running away with it.
Yeah.
But the reason I say he's crushing dreams, he's getting people fired. They fired the defensive coordinator for the Bengals today, Terrell Austin. After Drew was responsible for putting up 51 points on him, that was it. So Drew Brees.
I can imagine the opposing defensive coordinator waking up that Sunday morning like, this might be my last day.
Yo.
It's Drew Brees today.
Drew's killing Christmas, man. Thanksgiving's coming up. I mean, this is the gifts ain't going to be as nice under the Christmas tree for defensive coordinators.
He's sending people home for the holidays.
It's over with. But Drew Brees was 22 for 25, 265 yards, and 3 TDs.
Ridiculous.
Yes. Mark Ingram followed that up on the ground, 13 carries, 104 yards. Adam Kamara did his thing, 12 carries, 56 yards, 2 TDs. Mike Thomas is an animal in the air, 8 receptions, 70 yards, 2 TDs.
Are the Saints the best team in the NFL?
It's hard to say not. I mean, after the way they handle, I don't want to say they handle, but they beat the Rams, who they're my favorite. I would not be surprised if you said that they were the best. I wouldn't even argue with you because they really are playing well right now. Mm-hmm. And so on the other side, Andy Dalton was 12 for 20, 153 yards, 1 TD, and 2 interceptions. I really wouldn't have mentioned that, but I can't be unfair. I have to talk about everybody. But in the Cincinnati Bengals defense, A.J. Green, he's still out with the toe issue. Their defense it wasn't up to par. They gave up over 500 yards. And then the other thing, on another quick note, they have signed Brandon Marshall, New Orleans Saints have signed him. They signed him today to a 1-year deal on the heels of Dez Bryant going down with the torn Achilles during the week, which is kind of disappointing because you hate to see anybody get hurt. A lot of the Saints players were throwing up the X when they scored a touchdown or something in support of him. So get well soon to him.
That's a tough one because that's a year injury.
It is.
And then, in a year where your NFL career is fledgling, for you to get that, it's going to be tough for him to get back.
And Achilles is huge. You probably almost rather hurt a knee than an Achilles.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you lose a lot with that. So
right. The Cleveland Browns actually get a win versus the Atlanta Falcons, unfortunately for Falcons fans. In Cleveland, Browns with a 28-16 victory. And the Browns now go to 3-6-1. They've won 3 times more games. There is no 3 times 0.
Yeah, well,
so they actually physically, technically, mathematically, it's not 3 times more. It's something else that I don't know.
I'm with you though.
Right.
I know.
Right.
You get I know what you meant.
You get
we
me.
here. Yeah.
Yes.
but Baker Mayfield in this game had an efficient 17 for 20. In passing, 216 yards and 3 TDs. Nick Chubb had 20 carries on the ground, 176 yards.
Looking really good.
1 TD. He had 3 receptions in the air, also 33 yards and 1 TD. It looked like the theme for the Browns is to run the ball. You run the ball and go from there. Their defense isn't half bad.
Right.
And as long as Baker doesn't make mistakes, you look at it, something so
Well,
good.
again, first 5 games of the season, they had an opportunity to win each one.
That's true.
With Hugh Jackson.
Yeah.
Who got axed. A lot of people agree with him getting fired. I don't agree with him getting fired only because you gave him a program that was horrible, and he's gotten you to a point where you are now competitive. And that's when you get rid of him. Now, depending on what some of the dynamics of relationships were within the locker room, including with the potential future star quarterback, he might have been like, give me Tyrod behind the scenes.
Right.
He doesn't want to get fired.
Right.
As Baker learns. But, we don't know what that is, but I feel it's unfair that he gets fired after his team in the first quarter of the season played so well. They weren't getting the W's, but they were playing well, and they were clearly developed way beyond what they were last year and previous seasons.
I feel you on that, but again, it boils down to wins, and I feel like there were some games, not only did they lose, they didn't finish well.
Right.
Like there were just some things like, I started thinking like, man, they got to learn how to close.
Exactly. Exactly,
so,
but that's part of the process.
Right.
That's
but I
part of
guess
the
they weren't
process.
patient enough for that.
And part of the process for him learning. I just believe in having a system where continuity is a key to the development of young players. And to continually cycle in coaches, coordinators, position coaches usually serves as a setback, especially to young quarterbacks and offensive linemen, because those are really the brains of the football team, where it's a constant change in language, a constant change in system, and it sets them all back. Whereas you give a coach 3, 4, 5 years to implement his system and to develop his young players, then you see what happens. But, most people don't think that way.
Yeah. So on the other side, Atlanta, Matt Ryan had he was 38 for 52, 33 yards, 2 TDs. Actually, 330 yards, 2 TDs. Julio Jones had 7 receptions, 107 yards, and 1 TD. In the losing effort, they just had so many injuries.
Right.
I mean, this.
I saw in that game? They forced the ball to him to get him a touchdown too, because he hasn't been scoring.
Yeah,
not his fault. He's not been scoring. Like I said, he's the world's best decoy. But they made a concerted effort
just to
get him a screen that he could score on, on the 1 or the 2 yard line.
Yeah. Odell's dancing. He just scored a touchdown. Yeah, he's got dance moves, that's for sure. All right.
He can't mess with Travis Kelce, though. Travis Kelce is my favorite dancer.
Yeah, he is. Travis is creative, too.
Travis is creative.
Very creative.
And he's retro. He brings it back.
Yeah.
The Patriots, surprisingly, took a loss to the Tennessee Titans, 34-10 in Nashville. Titans go to 5-4. put themselves in a much better position for the playoffs. Patriots fall to 7-3, not really a big deal. They were probably cruising and taking this one. They were not in a must-win scenario whatsoever. So,
Yo, let me tell you about these Titan boys. And every week I see the same exact thing. Oh, the Titans are going to beat them. Mariota's a little shaky, whatever. Their defense is sneaky good. They stifle teams. Teams come in there thinking they're going to run them off the field, and they don't. And there was this talk all week about Tom Brady coming in with the Patriots, and they were going to pick on the what was the DB last year that got benched in the Super Bowl?
Malcolm Jenkins.
Yes, they were going to torture
or Malcolm Butler.
Malcolm Butler, and they were going to go after him. It didn't work out. Tom Brady was 21 for 41, 254 yards. Edelman did have 9 receptions and 104 yards. But on the other side, Mariota had an efficient day, 16 for 24, 228 yards, 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry added 2 TDs on the ground. And Corey Davis, their star receiver, had 7 receptions, 125 yards, and 1 TD. So, of course, Gronk didn't play this game. And even at the end of the game, there were some words that were kind of exchanged between the old Patriots players and the like what's his name, the running back Lewis, I think his last name is
Dion.
Yes, Dion Lewis said that the Patriots in so many words. This is what happens when you want to be cheap, right? So all these players have left. We're good. And he said he told his teammates, he said that New England doesn't want it. Just rough them up,
right,
and then go from there. So
wow,
in so many words.
Wow. I look at this game as the Malcolm Butler Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Payback.
Yeah. Yeah, but they got the win. So the Titans, they stay alive, and the Patriots head into a bye week that I'm sure they can't wait to get to.
Right. So the team that I believe that's on the rise, that O'Neal laughed at me and said I was ridiculous.
You know what? I laughed at you too.
Hit me with the beat.
Yeah.
The Indianapolis Colts, 29-26. They keep winning. This game was in Indy. They now improve to 4-5. Jaguars fall to 3-6. 29-26 Colts.
I think I'm ready to step out and say the Jags are done. They may not even make the playoffs.
Fournette came back too.
Yeah, and that was the thing that everybody was waiting for, and yet they still took this loss by 3. Jalen Ramsey's, making little posts online, that makes it sound like it's like these cryptic messages, like he may not be back or something. So this is really interesting the way that team is falling apart.
People. I can't stand toxic, negative people.
Yeah.
Like shut up, man.
I guess he can't help.
Shut up.
If you win,
talk it on the field. Talk it on the field. Talking to the players that you're playing against.
Yeah.
Talking to your teammates. Stay out of the media talking stupidness. Like no one respects you.
He just has to say something.
I guess. Say something.
But you gotta know when to just be quiet. I mean, that's it. I mean,
right.
There's nothing you can do. You lost.
So, bulletin board material is a real thing in sports.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because these men, loaded with adrenaline. You know what I mean? You're lifting weights every day, all day. You're just ready to explode. You know what I mean? You're looking for any reason. And when someone comes out and gives you a reason to have an additional edge, they take it. Like, when I'm playing ball and I got somebody on a team that wants to talk trash, I can't deal with them. Like, yo, don't talk to him. That's a sleeping giant.
Yeah.
Do not wake him up. Let's win the game, and then you can talk. You know what I mean? You want to talk every play. Every time you touch the ball, you want to, invite him to come guard you. No. No.
And some guys aren't looking for it. There's some guys that will have a mediocre game just because you never said anything to them. But the minute you open your mouth,
they're ready. They're
something happens.
They're ready.
They just turn into an animal. But anyway, speaking of animals, Andrew Luck, 21 for 29, 285 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception.
Did he get any rushing yards?
I think he had a couple, but nothing of note.
Okay. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting him to get back to his 40, 50 rushing yards a game.
That's how he got hurt so bad last year. He's not running this year.
Yeah.
And it may be in their best interest to not put him out there like that. But Eric Ebron, he had 3 receptions, 69 yards, 2 TDs.
He'd look good in a Lions uniform right now, no?
No, because he dropped too many balls on the ground. I mean, the problem with us is we had too many mouths to feed, right? So you're spreading the ball around. He gets 3 or 4 targets, drops all of them, and you look at him like he's not any good.
Right.
Here, they're
going to
feeding him.
Right.
Like,
he's primary. He's the primary.
Exactly. Their wide receiving core is a little bit shaky. People have been hurt. And so he's had the opportunity to fill that gap in. He's not a bad player.
Right.
So
hold on one second. Nye, what up?
What's up, man?
Nothing much. We're going through the scores. Welcome. We got Naeem in the house, a.k.a. Doc. Before we get to the Cowboy score, please feel free jump in anywhere you feel fit as we go through the NFL, all right? We got about 15 minutes before we wrap it up. So we're just going to run through these scores, and any comments that you have, just jump
Cowboys.
in. You just us. That's all that matters. Just the Cowgirls.
man, Naeem, you got to see this picture that we pulled up and put on the screen for you, man. You look real official right here. Like, yeah, you're built for this. So getting back to this Jags-Colts game, on the other side, Blake Bortles he had a decent game, but not enough for the win. 320 yards, 2 TDs. Leonard Fournette, 24 carries, 53 yards, 1 TD. He had 5 carries on the ground, 56 yards, 1 TD. So that's all they did, and it's a losing effort, but there's always next week.
That's right. In Kansas City, the Cardinals falling to the Chiefs 26-14. Chiefs now 9-1. Cardinals 2-7.
All right, let's run through this. Patrick Mahomes, 21 for 28, 249 yards, 2 TDs. Kareem Hunt had 16 carries for 71 yards. Tyreek Hill had 7 receptions for 117 yards and 2 TDs. The Cardinals in a losing effort. Josh Rosen was 22 for 39, 208 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. It looks like Byron Leftwich, the new offensive coordinator, is now using David Johnson appropriately. His numbers have been looking better of late. 21 carries, 98 yards, 1 TD on the ground, 7 receptions, 85 yards in the air, 1 TD.
Now that you mention it, the Cardinals' offense has improved significantly in the last 2-3 weeks.
Yes.
Larry Fitzgerald has become a target again.
Yes. Yeah. So, and then the other thing they were talking about, Byron Leftwich routinely supposedly talks to Bruce Arians.
Right.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Even though Bruce isn't there, he was a good coach while he was.
Byron was such a good quarterback, cerebral. He was as slow as mud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He would take hits, often injured. He would just take hits and
frequent injuries.
Fighter. I remember him at Marshall, like with them carrying him down the field.
You remember
that's
them
that fake,
carrying him
right?
down the field?
Right.
I think I will never forget that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's one of the greatest moments in sports.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
every play he couldn't walk, but he could throw.
Carried him.
And I would just like to add Byron Leftwich from H.D. Woodson High School in Washington, D.C.
All right.
From the DMV, huh?
DMV, stand up for that one.
All right.
But, speaking of the Chiefs, I have to ask the question, do we believe in the Kansas City Chiefs? Do we believe in Andy Reid? Because we have seen this story before.
I believe in
Maybe
them.
not this good, but similar storylines of good seasons in Kansas City and in Philadelphia that did not end as expected.
I think it's going to boil down to the matchups for them and whatever type of home field advantage that they have. I think they can get one win. They might sneak a couple in, but I feel like we're going to see the same thing. We're going to end up being disappointed.
But here's what I think might be a difference. As great as Donovan McNabb was,
yeah,
I think Mahomes' arm talent is significantly the best that Andy Reid has ever coached.
I'll agree with that.
And I think that could be the difference. McNabb was great. He was phenomenal. And not to take anything away from Donovan McNabb, but this kid is special.
Yeah.
He is.
He got ice in his
But
veins,
I
too.
guess the question is always going to be, can Andy Reid, he's going to come up with a great game plan.
Mm-hmm.
If the other team shuts it down, is he going to be able to go in at halftime and make the adjustments, which is what Bill Belichick has mastered?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to win in the playoffs is the team that makes the halftime adjustments is probably going to win the game.
Nice.
Can Andy Reid do that?
Since you said that, and it actually ran through my mind, I would actually believe that Bill Belichick comes out with a halftime plan. He comes up with it before the game.
Yeah.
Like he already has, he's going to present you one thing to look
Right,
at,
you're
and then
probably right.
already have Plan B that's being implemented into the.
Yeah,
third
that's how the
quarter.
momentum changes.
Right.
Like you see this thing for the whole first half, and you're like, "Oh yeah, we got him."
You're probably right.
Yeah.
That
Right.
wouldn't shock me.
And he comes out with all these little treats
Right.
in the second half, and you're like, "What do we do?"
Right.
And you don't have time
Right.
to prepare to fix
Now,
it.
One of the cornerstones of the Parcells Belichick system was they planned for everything. Anyone that you asked that was ever coached by them, like, yo, we're practicing stuff in practice that's never going to happen in a game.
Yeah,
You know what
Right.
I mean?
yeah.
All right. The Bills and the Jets, 41-10. We're just going to brush over it. Bills go to 3-7. Jets.
So we just gonna brush over this one. We can't throw this under the. Oh, we gonna run out of time on your Jets, right? Nah, we got
We
time.
ain't got no time for
We
that.
got plenty of time.
Listen.
We've suffered enough as a Jet.
Ron will give us 30 more minutes to talk about this. Look at
Man,
him.
look.
You can't even keep a straight face on this.
All right, real quick. When Todd Bowles got the job,
Yeah.
I gave him a fair chance. About 3 weeks in, I was done with him because he took a top defense and turned it into trash, and he was supposed to be a defensive innovator. He inherited an incredible
Right.
defensive line. The secondary, it had holes, but it had stars. And all of a sudden, Darrelle Revis couldn't play anymore. I don't know how much he had to do with it. The Darrelle Revis that played for the Patriots was guarding
Right.
the B receiver.
Yeah.
And then they loaded everybody up on the A receiver.
Yeah.
That's Belichick genius.
Yeah.
Bowles took it, and I guess he never watched football or watched what Belichick did, and went back to putting a much older now, injured and beat up Revis
On
back
the
to
A
the number
receiver.
one receiver.
Yeah.
And, Sammy Watkins and the rest put Darrelle Revis to bed.
Well, we can add something else to the Todd Bowles issue that I have, and that is you always have a good backup, especially in the case that you have this rookie that you're trying to throw out there, because that could be the difference in you keeping your job or losing it.
Right.
He got rid of Teddy Bridgewater.
Right.
And so now the guy that you had backing up that's supposed to be teaching your rookie is garbage.
Right. If they had Bridgewater, they would still be thinking that they have a shot at the playoffs today.
Well, and you wouldn't lose this bad
Right.
at home.
You're not losing to Buffalo at all. At all.
Yeah, so-
because
Well,
one,
no,
you're not losing to Buffalo at
You're
all because the rest of
glossing
your
over
team
the
is
most
not giving
important
up.
point.
What's that?
They went to Walmart, saw Matt Barkley working in the grocery line, said, "Hey man, you want to run some ball on Sunday? We're playing the Jets." Matt Barkley says, "Sure. Where do I sign?" And threw for like 5 touchdowns.
Come on, bro. That's not even
500 yards.
Come on, man.
That is good information.
Matt Barkley.
Naeem has done his homework. Thank you so much for that. That's what, as a Lions fan, that make me feel good. There's somebody
That's
worse than
all
I
you
am.
have to say about that game.
Whew.
Man, we didn't even need that, man. That wasn't even.
We don't even need to talk about the score there. This is, I mean, we already know what happened. So now Bowles is on the hot seat. I don't know if he's on the hot seat anymore. He's on his way out.
That joint's on fire.
The hot seat. If you get beat by a dude who's not even in the league, didn't even barely practice this week.
Right.
Went off.
As a so-called defensive genius.
And
Right.
you're a defensive genius.
Right.
Yeah, we can move on.
Done
That's
for.
enough. You've had enough.
Done for.
Yeah.
The Redskins continue to stake a claim on the NFC East. A 16-3 victory over the Tampa Bay Bucks. Redskins go to 6-3. Bucks fall to 3-6.
Not a lot happened this game. Alex Smith, 19 for 27, 178 yards. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 29 for 41. Actually had 406 yards, 2 interceptions. Didn't do that much. But even though they lost, the rumor came out. Well, not a rumor, but the information came out today that Fitzmagic will last one more week, so he will be the starter again.
Really?
There were rumors that Jameis
I
might
don't
get to
think
play.
we can call him that anymore.
We have to stick with it. I mean, you not unless you have another name, we'll switch it.
I would not put Jameis back into another game
But the
this year.
magic is gone. Like that,
Yeah.
red zone interceptions, and I think, what did they have, 4 or 5 trips in the red zone and only have 3 points? There's no magic there anymore. That's gone.
The artist formerly known as Fitzmagic.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That'll work. He's Fitzpatrick again.
Yeah, but the Redskins managed to sneak a win out, which I was very surprised because they have some offensive line issues. Of course, Adrian Peterson didn't do as well this week as he normally does, but they managed to pull it out. I think the big difference for them is their DBs. Their defense actually played pretty well last week. Clinton Dix, that addition, along with the pieces they already had, I think that turned out to be the difference.
Yo, when you say that name, this is how you got to do it. Clinton Dix.
Okay. All right.
Clinton Dix.
It's too much work.
Come on, son.
It's too much work.
All right, we got about 3 more games to cover. I'm just going to go through those scores, and then we're going to wrap it up.
We got to get to the Cowboys. I know Naeem is excited about.
That's where we're headed. All right, but I want to get the other scores out of the way and done for. In a battle for L.A., Chargers over Raiders 20-6. Chargers now go to 7-2. Raiders fall to 1-8. Dolphins and the Packers. Packers with the victory 31-12. Dolphins now 5-5. Packers 4-4-1. Seahawks, Russ continuing to play uphill, had a shot here. They fall, however, to the Rams 36-31. Rams 9-1. Seahawks 4-5.
Oh, one quick point on this game. This is a big deal. Cooper Kupp done for the year, torn ACL. You know, Super Bowl runs are very fragile, so I don't know if they can fill that gap, but that's going to be a problem for the Rams.
And on Sunday Night Football, the aforementioned Dallas Cowboys.
Super Bowl champion.
I don't know. 27-20 over the Eagles. Eagles fall to 4-5. Cowboys fall to 4-5.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's see. What is the? I think it's G7, Ron. The current NFL standings. This division is totally up for grabs now. All 3 teams that are not named New York Giants have a shot, and it's probably going to come down to the wire. Nye, what is the feeling by Cowboys fans this morning or tonight?
Well, this was a much-needed win for the fan base of the Dallas Cowboys after last week's deflating loss at home to the Tennessee Titans. The feeling now is a feeling of hope because it looked as though there was aggressive play calling and Dak Prescott played with a little bit more confidence than what he has been playing with. For whatever reason, his confidence has waned this year, and he's really been afraid to make plays that need to be made. This game against Philadelphia, he made plays that needed to be played, that needed to be made. There were still some plays left on the field that should have been made, but certainly the performance was better.
So
The hope is he'll only improve from here.
All right. Some quick stats from that game. Dak, 26 for 36, 270 yards, 1 touchdown. Pretty good. QBR.
And 1 running touchdown.
And 1 rushing touchdown. Zeke, 19 carries, 151 yards, vintage. All right, 1 touchdown. Cooper paying off immediately, 6 catches, 75 yards. Allen Hurns 2 for 40, Beasley 4 for 47. How do you feel, Nye, about the acquisition of Cooper? What you've seen in, I don't know if it's 2 games or 1 game so far from him in terms of a fit and what the potential might be there.
So Cooper is exactly what the doctor ordered because, as you could see on Sunday night, he's going to get a lot of one-on-one, man-to-man coverage because of Ezekiel Elliott. But also, when they do pull that safety out to cover over the top, then Ezekiel Elliott has more lanes to run in. And also, if they do decide to double coverage on Cooper, then no one can cover Cole Beasley man-to-man. So there's potential mismatches all over the field for the Dallas Cowboys because of the addition of Amari Cooper. Prior to that, there was no fear of any of our receivers.
Right.
Eight
Joe,
in the box.
Joe was actually talking about putting 11 in the box.
Yeah, that's all you had to do.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Just putting all 11 into the box, right.
Yeah, he opens up everything for everybody because he is a possession receiver, but then he's a little bit more than that. He can do. Actually, I feel like you said they left a lot of plays on the field. I saw him coming open a couple times. Dak just has to get on point, and the thing that Dak doesn't want to do because he's trying to be safe with the ball, he need to throw that ball, let him go get it, because Amari can get it.
Yeah.
Just throw it up there where nobody can get it at the high point. Let him go and retrieve it. So
I would be firing John Gruden right now. I would be sending him back to Monday Night Football.
well, probably not. I mean, well, according to the owner, he says it's his fault for the 1-6 start, so it's not Gruden's fault. Such a nice guy. I don't know him and John.
The Eagles run the run-pass option as well, or almost at least as well as the Rams run it. But I believe the Cowboys should be running it just as well also, with Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, and Amari Cooper running quick slants.
That's true.
Right.
And you put it in Ezekiel Elliott's belly, pull it back, and hit Cooper for a slant. That will be unguardable.
You know what? When you said that, it reminded me of when Michael Vick was doing that with the Eagles, and it was unstoppable.
Yeah.
It's unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
Yeah.
And it's 7 yards at a time, 7 yards, and then, you give it to Zeke, and, it's just, I don't know, we still are not running RPOs, and I don't understand why. Dak is a mobile quarterback. He takes way too many sacks to be a mobile quarterback. I mean, he stands there like a pocket passer, like he can't move, and
he hesitates. He doesn't want to make mistakes.
Needs a quarterback coach. He has no quarterback coach, so he's basically learning on his own.
Isn't his head coach a former quarterback?
They need to hire Tony Romo to be the offensive coordinator, or at least the quarterback coach.
As much as you hated on Tony Romo.
And you want him back.
Yeah, but
you hated on Tony Romo, the quarterback.
I did, with a passion, but he would be a great coach. He has a great mind for the game.
Right. You know what?
Just, that when that pressure was turned up, it just he made mistakes. But he has a great mind. When you listen to him call games, he has a great football mind.
Right.
And I think he would be a good offensive coordinator where he's not the one that has to go out there and do it.
He might actually end up being the head coach after Jason Garrett gets bagged after this season.
And then, so it'd be the offensive coordinator for a while, and then definitely be the head coach.
Right.
Now, if they get the Oklahoma guys, then he'll want his own people. But
right.
I think Dak needs right now, our quarterback coach is a guy named Kellen Moore, who basically was the backup to Tony Romo.
He played for the Jets, too.
Tony, and played for the Jets. So he probably has 4 or 5 games of NFL experience. So you have basically an inexperienced quarterback coach coaching an inexperienced quarterback.
Right.
And that's just poor management to me. I don't know who made that management decision, but that's a poor decision.
Probably Jerry Jones.
Probably Jerry Jones.
Are you trying to ride with Jason Garrett?
Wade Wilson, who had like 12 to 13 years of NFL experience.
Yeah. Are you riding with Jason Garrett? Do you think you want to keep him, or you think you should look elsewhere as a Cowboys fan?
I would love to look elsewhere.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of looking elsewhere. If we don't end up 10-6, we're going to need to look elsewhere, because that's probably what it's going to take to get in. So last year we were 9-7 and missed the playoffs.
Right.
So we're going to at least need 10-6. And looking at our schedule, every game that we play is going to be winnable, probably except for the Saints. But we have the Falcons next week. Then we have the Redskins again, the Eagles again, the Giants again, and the Colts are in there, and Tampa Bay is in there. and that's like our schedule for the
Bro,
rest of the
you
year.
know what that
So
all sounds like to
outside
me?
of the Saints,
You know what that all sounds like to me? That sounds like it's going to be real disappointing for you after they take like 3 losses
maybe.
against those teams. You're going to be
Yeah,
so
no,
mad, bro.
It very well may be. And that would be par for the course for the Cowboys, right?
Right.
I mean, looking at it on paper and all of that, which Cowboys always look good, they should be a playoff team. They should be able to run the table, except for maybe the Saints, but they won't
Right.
because they never do.
Right.
And that's been my life the last 20 years.
Now I know your defense is a lot better. That's one thing I will say about you that should have you feel a little bit better about this year versus the last 5 years. Your defense is a lot better, actually.
Yeah.
They are a lot better. I would agree with that. I was talking to a guy at the gym today, and we were both saying if Tony Romo had that defense,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Then he wouldn't have had to run and gun so much.
Things he wouldn't right. He wouldn't have felt that he has to do everything,
Right.
and do so much.
Right.
But
Cowboys fans, tell us how you feel. Leave a comment. Let us know what you feel about Dak, the Amari Cooper acquisition, how they're fitting, and what your expectations are for the Cowboys the rest of the way. Also, please subscribe. Click on that subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. And make sure you share this video with your peoples.